we have a public hearing first. So we'll call this public hearing to order. The public hearing on the proposed $20,000 donation from the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation for the MVRHS New York City trip pursuant to RSA 198:20-B. This hearing is open. So we have a hearing to accept a donation from the Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation, as stated, for the New York City trip. Anything else we need to know about that, Amanda?
No, this is the trip that Tina has proposed previously that you all gave permission to attend, for her to start fundraising.
This was an arts related one, is that correct?
This is, they will be going, she's doing this in conjunction with Skip Chalker, so it's got a drama-based
Oh,
theme
okay,
to it.
yes.
Quite multifaceted. They're going to do a lot of things.
They're going to
Yeah.
get a well-rounded field trip.
Yes, and this will allow them to get the donation knocked off the total amount, so they can tell
Right.
kids before they put their deposits down how much they can expect. So,
Do we have a number yet of how many are participating?
no, it closes. When do they have to have their deposits in by? Next week? This week?
I have not paid attention.
I saw the email and I did it for my own kid, but I can't remember what the deadline was. But it's soon.
She anticipates it to be more than full.
Good.
That's good to hear.
That's very good. Any public comment to this donation that you'd like to give?
Yay.
Yay! All right, cool. All right, we can close the public hearing at 6:02. Now we can call our school board meeting to order. For a public session, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. First thing on our agenda, we have approval of minutes. We have 3 different meetings to approve. And I have to stress that you do not have to have been at the meeting. I checked with the School Board Association. You do not have to have been there. You are only saying, yes, these are minutes of a meeting that were there. And one of these we have to approve because Amanda needs it for when we gave her authority to hire during the summer. She needs to submit approved minutes with that. So we need, which ones were those? That was the 6/11 one?
The 6/11 one
Okay,
is correct.
that one we
yeah.
definitely need. So I'll entertain a motion. You can do them all at once, or
Make a motion that we approve the public and non-public minutes for the meetings of June 11th, 2024, July 9th, 2024, and July 23rd, 2024.
A second.
all right. Any comments on the one from June 11th?
I have to abstain for 2 and not for 1, so I don't know how that works.
Can you just vote up or down, yes on them? Because we need a yes or no vote. I guess we would have 4, but we do have 4 of us here, so you can abstain. Which 2 do you need to abstain? The
Well,
July
June
ones?
11th and 7/23, those are the 2 I
Those are
was
the 2 you're not there?
So do you want to break that up into
Alright.
2?
You can do it to 3. You can do the 3 motions.
Okay, so I rescind my previous motion and move that we approve the public and non-public minutes of June 11th, 2024.
All right.
Second.
That'll get Kathleen? Okay, there we go. So now June 11th. Any comments on that one? All right. All those in favor of approval of public and non-public June 11th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Hope abstains. All right. June 9th. Now let's entertain a motion for those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 9th, 2024, public and non-public.
All right.
Second.
Kathleen seconds. Any comments on those? All right. All those in favor of approve the minutes, public, non-public, July 9th, 2024, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? That was 5-0. I'm just saying this because Camel's not here, so she's listening to the recording. Hi, Camel.
And make
go
a
ahead.
motion to approve the minutes, public and non-public, for July 23rd, 2024.
Okay.
Second.
And Kathleen seconds. All right. Any comments on that one? That one we have not previously seen. Looked fine to me when I looked at it earlier. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes, public and non-public from 7:23, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
And Hope abstains. All right, 401. Okay. Public comment is next on our agenda. We will have public comment after the bus routes presentation, so if you have something to say about bus routes, then we have that chance as well. So any public comment at this time? All right. We will keep that open as we need. All right, Butler's bus, all yours.
Yes, sir, nice to see you.
And we have, just so you know, you have printed copies of the routes right here that just got sent out Martha sent those out.
They're actually also in your packet.
And, okay, they are in the packet.
So there are extras.
Oh, yeah, I see
to
them.
members of the public, if you wanted to try and they're all in your packet.
You guys can-
Thank you. Sure.
So I've been before you before, but I'll introduce myself. My name is Steve Landon. I'm the area general manager for Butler's Bus. And Sarah's unable to be here tonight as our Enfield manager, because she's lucky enough to leave on vacation today. So you have me here. So I'm going to update you on where we're at with buses, with routing, and drivers. What I'm not an expert in, just because that's not my job, is your bus routes. The actual design of them, I was involved with last year when we did the changes from, separating out elementary from high school. But if you ask me specifics necessarily about a specific bus stop, I may not be able to tell you that. It's just not part of what I do. So I'm going to start with the good news. The good news is only because you were nice enough to lend me some space to park. You see the shiny new buses out there. I do have all of your fleet with us. 4 of the units are parked at my office on Mike River, and then the other ones will start moving over there next week so we can start servicing them. You will then also see the ones up here start to disappear. So those won't be here after probably next week. We'll get them moved.
You mean like the ones that park here all the time, like after school, or just like?
Well, right now you have a mixture of the new units down here, and those are the older units up there, which I'm going to keep a few of them. I'm not sure which ones I'm going to keep, but we will get them out of your way, in other words, before school starts. I need license plates to drive the other buses.
Yeah.
So we're in the middle of that process now. So the good news is, which doesn't happen all that often, is I have your entire new bus fleet with us. Sometimes that can get dragged out until December from the factories. The bus routes are done. As you can see, I don't know if you folks have had the time to review them. And as you said earlier, Tim, these are always work in progress. That's not a so specific thing. That's how business is done everywhere. But we did the best we could under trying to come up with some new quote-unquote group stops, which is the word people like to use. But quite honestly, there's some spots within your district that that's just not safe to do.
Yeah.
So some of the timing is still a little bit longer than we'd like to see, but I really don't know how I fix that because of how far we have to go. Once we're able to clean them up, I think in my time here anyway, I think that the school staff and the parents and with Amanda's help, I think we got the best data that we've gotten as far as who's going to be on the buses in many years.
Good.
So that's very helpful in developing, obviously, efficient bus routes. But Amanda can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the staff did a great job.
The staff did a great job at each
It
school.
was fantastic. So there could be some growing pains with those group stops also, where people were used to door-to-door service and now they might not get that, so that's probably going to cause some issues. I will say that I think in your second year now of transitioning from separating this campus from the elementary schools, you will see that get much smoother. And then by next year, I think you'll forget that you even used to do business the other way. We've had a lot of success with that in other areas. There is some misconception, I believe, not that I've ever heard this, but that the driver wages are not going to go up to where we talked about when we were here the last time. I think that happens on social media much more than it does in my office.
We have a contract and everything.
And yeah, I'm not on social media for a reason, but I can tell you that the driver wages are going to go exactly where we said. I don't want to get at who's getting paid what, but it's a small scale of the drivers that have not only been in your district for a long time, but have worked for Butlers. They're going to be at the top of that scale, and then we kind of work backwards just a little bit. But I think it's going to be probably at the top of what bus drivers are getting paid in the Upper Valley. That'll start when we start school with our employees. We actually have our meetings next week, and those employees will be notified of that.
I'm sorry, Steve, while we're talking about that, do you know what the starting rate is if I've never driven a bus and I come and work for you?
I want to say, well, that's a bit tricky because it depends on what district.
For here,
Are
for
you going to drive
basketball.
out here?
Yeah.
I don't care about the other. I don't want them to have bus drivers. I want bus drivers here.
I think it's 26, 25.
Okay, so I believe that exceeds what we had asked for in the contract, am I correct?
Yes,
on that?
and then so you can see that's the newer drivers.
Right, and then it,
And then it goes, steps up, to the top
right,
tier.
as it should, thank you.
Yeah, and those are the drivers that have been here 10 plus years. Of which now I think you only have 2 or 3. Steve's on his way there, but he's not there.
Steve's
With regards to the TransFinder software, and I know there's been a lot of questions about that, and the GPS in the buses, we have not yet got the licensing for us to access the maps in your district.
Okay.
Okay? It's a cumbersome process, much more than I even thought when we were here in the spring. So I think we're on our way there. So these bus routes were not designed by a computer.
Okay.
The clearance to get licensing for maps is a little bit more cumbersome than we anticipated. And during the summertime, everybody going on to use TransFinder is busy. I've reached out to our rep 3 times in the last week, and I haven't heard back from him. As soon as I have another customer who in southern Vermont that is experiencing the same thing. So what I would propose is that I think we will be able to use that software once school starts. That will give parents, and I will make sure Amanda gets details of how this all works. That will give your parents the ability to use the app on their phone where they can track that bus when it's coming to a bus stop. What does that mean? It means her staff doesn't have to deal with 30 phone calls if the bus is 10 minutes late. So the parents will be able to in real time track all the buses around 2 streets from me, so I know it's on the way here. I'm confident we're going to be able to do that by the time school starts. What I would suggest, and I don't anticipate just because we put this data into TripMan, I don't anticipate it's going to spit out 30 different bus routes. That's not the way it's going to work. It won't work that way. Once we put the data in, if we find trouble spots that tells us we need to make this change, then we notify, Amanda like we normally would, and then we pick a date, 2 weeks from now. But I think we should stick with these. If I get access to that software next week, I don't want to change it. That would be my suggestion. I would do it if she instructed me to. But so as soon as our company is able to get into that software, which we've been working diligently on, I'll get it done, and we'll put the routes in the software, and then we'll continue to use it from then on. There's going to be some other things out of that software that we probably will discuss once we get up and running that your buses could have the capability to do for students. And looking at cost, I don't think it's all that exorbitant. I don't know that it helps your home to school routes, but I think there's some capability for internet. If coach's team's going to Berlin and somebody wants to do their homework on the way, that's maybe a possibility. So once that system's up and running, I will notify Amanda. I actually shared an email with Amanda today about the licensing of the maps and that sort of stuff. So that's where we're at as far as the software and the buses.
All right. Cool. Anything else on your end, or before we
Unless
open up the
anybody has
questions?
specific questions.
All right, cool. Any questions from the board?
I have a question.
Okay, well, whichever one you want to.
I just have a quick question. I wondered if, because there's, when I flipped through this last night, it looked like there was still maybe they're all filled in. I was gonna say, maybe there was a few that didn't have routes that didn't have names
Yeah, I
on
saw
them.
that same thing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
And
didn't
so,
know
or at least one maybe that I found. So I wondered if these routes are at the behest of potentially being broken apart if you get more drivers, or if these routes are gonna be the routes, just so that our families can know that in advance.
I just have to see the specific one.
Yeah. They're just, I
CS5.
wanna say there was only one, maybe there was
There's
only
one without a
that I saw.
driver,
did
and
notice
a
one
CS5.
CES 5.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That
So it has
looks
a
like
route
it
number,
is-
it just doesn't have a driver on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of, so that route is a transit van, as you saw running out here last year. I'm still in the middle of figuring out where we're gonna put who. Last year I had a lot of folks from Vermont driving here. they actually enjoy driving here, but the distance gets difficult for them. The good news is I have 2 new folks that are gonna be able to drive vans in your district for the start of school that actually live out here. So that's probably why those names aren't on there, just because we haven't assigned it yet.
Okay.
We are currently, we have a plan for this, of course, but, 1 CDL driver short
Okay.
Okay.
as of today.
Yeah, because there's one bus route that doesn't have a
Yeah.
driver, CES 5, that's a full-size route.
Yes,
So that one doesn't have a driver.
we
I
would
think-
end up moving somebody to that.
Okay. Does that look like it might be split at any point?
I hope
Because that
not.
is a long route.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't think that one's easy to split. You can't split. We're gonna have to put a bus on that.
Wait, no,
The
you
bus
split it
one.
with a second bus, with another bus.
The only option I would have would be split it with transits, because I don't have licensed people to
I
split
see,
that.
I see.
So, no, I hope we don't split that.
So you'd have to use 2 vans?
It's not even possible. The vans only seat 9. Those CES routes have 45.
I'm
50 kids.
confused, so it's a full-size bus?
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, so
and we wouldn't have an option for it not to be. In other
Right.
words, I wouldn't be able to bring enough transits out here to.
There's too many stops
There's
on
too
that
many
route.
stops.
There's-
Right, right,
That's one of
right.
the trouble.
But you wouldn't look at hiring another person with a CDL to create a second route out of that bus?
I would look at hiring 30 people tomorrow if I could.
Right?
But,
For some of those routes that.
yes, of course we would. I
Yeah.
mean, if we could. I mean, what I think we want to be leery of is like, before, we don't want to just add buses for the sake of adding buses, because that's not cost effective for you guys. It just isn't.
Yeah. Well, maybe, because they're the 2 CES bus routes that are in here are, the 2 CES bus routes, 5 and 7,
Yeah,
both of those are really long.
yeah, they're the 2 longest.
And even if you could make those 2 into 3, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
I don't know how that is, because I was thinking we were going to be putting this through route mapping software. And we will at some point, I guess. And maybe that would be able to tell us how you can split these 2 routes into 3.
it could,
Yeah.
unless I have another driver though, it doesn't really.
Right, you need another driver, that's what we're saying, yeah. So,
Thanks.
okay, Kathleen?
So my question is about the software. Will the individual schools also have a designated administrator that has access to the software to view the same things as the parents are viewing?
That's a good question. There's no reason why they wouldn't be able to download the app, I wouldn't think. Because the parents are gonna be able to. What is the software you use, man, I'm sorry, I forget.
Alma.
Yeah, so I think, and actually Kamala has done a lot of great work getting us data, and she has talked to Transpinder herself. I think Alma and Transpinder work well together. So the tricky part about it is the Transpinder software is very, very finicky. So as we are entering in data, as the school sent us their information on the students, if you have a CES kid and you type in their address and it's First Station Road, and the school types that in your system as RD, if at the high school you type in Longley Road and you type in ROAD, it's gonna kick all that stuff out.
So
So,
it's consistent, the whole
It's,
thing.
but yes, but I do think that Alma and Transpinder work well together. I don't know that we will need our manager to have access to Alma to make that happen. But if we needed to make a school staff, active in Transpinder, I could just set them up with a username and password on our account.
That would be good, I think.
Yeah.
Because what you're gonna get is you're gonna get parents that call the school who cannot use an app for whatever reason,
Yeah.
won't use an app,
Yeah.
whatever. And it's probably 1,000 times easier just for the person there at the phone. Oh yeah, I see it right there, and they can access all the buses out of
Yeah.
that school
Yeah.
or whatever, or all the buses. I mean, it doesn't matter, they can see all the buses in the district,
Yeah, I think that's really important to get that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great question. Once I get better versed in it myself, I would even come to the schools and, if it's the front office, generally the front office people, I think, right,
Yeah.
most beneficial.
Yeah.
I could come out and train them in it.
Yeah, do a little workshop.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is probably, it may sound stupid, but I had the luxury of transporting my own child so I'm not terribly familiar with how the bus routes work. Like, I'm looking at EVS2, for example, and it says EVS 740 IRS high school transfer. So does that mean that parents would have the opportunity to drop their kids off at EVS to be transferred up to here? If, say, they were a 6:40 a.m. pickup and didn't want to do that, but could drop their kid at EVS at 7:40, would they be able to do that?
With threat of this table throwing something at me, I'm gonna say yes, but I don't know, I don't know how many kids EBS wants to manage.
Well, we'll have the same question at CES,
But,
because.
yes, we do
pick up a
do
bus
2 of
for
those
CES.
every day, so
Right,
then the
Use that as
EBS
a bus
2 bus.
stop transfer.
Right, yeah, basically using it as a bus stop. Are they able to
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, that would be fine, like, that would be a smart thing to do, just,
Okay.
I
you know,
think
get your kids
it's
in
fine with that.
EBS, we'll put them on the bus and get them to that
Okay.
school.
Would the parent have to do anything extra, like say, like my kid's gonna get on at EVS and that's where their stop is, and it's okay for them to get off?
I mean,
I don't know, like,
they should notify the front office staff at
Okay.
EBS out of a courtesy. But
yeah, okay.
The same bus does the same in the afternoon, too.
Mhm.
So it starts here and then goes over there, and then starts this afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
We had a lot of kids on that bus, both of them last year.
Absolutely.
Taking it to the elementary schools, then
Yeah.
getting off and
Yeah.
going wherever.
Yeah.
We see it a lot with siblings, so
Yeah.
if you have a sibling still at EBS and then you have a kid at IRS, right? You go to EBS to pick up a kid and then you just get your IRS kid.
You just wait for your IRS kid to get there. That's a smart way to do it.
Yeah.
That's a smart way to do it.
Yeah, just with one bus driver short, you said that you would move, you would cover the CES route to make sure that that big bus is running.
Yeah,
So how would the rest of the routes be impacted?
well, I would try to do it in transits on ridership that we've had, that was much less. The CES buses are probably, next to a few of the ones here, they're probably, depending on what sports season it is, of course, in the afternoons, they're the busiest buses that you have.
Yeah.
I haven't given up hope that I'm gonna find a driver before school starts either.
Right.
But-
But every year we've pretty much been down.
Yeah.
So.
When you lose one, it's staggering. I mean,
Yeah.
it takes us
Yeah.
months to recover from
So
it.
when you say you're gonna use transit buses, what do you mean by that, I guess?
The transits are 9-passenger vans.
And you have access to, because you don't have to have a CDL licensed driver, it's easier to find?
Correct.
Okay, and that's like, we're not looking at combining routes anymore and,
No,
Doing that.
M3, we've already accounted for that
Mhm.
on there, so that was the one. M910 was another one that seemed to be one that we had to combine all the time, but
Yeah.
the plan is to have a traditional full-size bus on that CES route. We don't have a choice, it goes too far and there's too many kids. I mean, we do have, and one of them sitting next to me, you do have some wonderful folks out here that, help out, and you have some spare people. The problem is when it comes to bringing kids to school and bringing them home, I'm one call out sick away from,
Yeah.
not being able to do something, or do
Yeah.
it late, which isn't ideal, I understand, especially in the wintertime.
And you won't be able to have Sierra fill in because she's assigned one of the.
She is now, because of the driver
Yeah.
loss,
Yeah.
yeah. That's not ideal either.
Yeah.
So if you don't have somebody by the beginning of the year for CES 5, which is the one without somebody, your plan is to split it up into multiple vans?
Oh,
Or-
no,
No,
no.
have it covered by somebody else as a
Yeah.
whole, okay, just as a substitute, cover it, okay.
Or I'll move somebody from another district.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, back then.
Thank you, that
They
makes
drive
more
further.
sense.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from the board for Steve?
I'm curious, do you guys do ridership info, like data?
Yeah,
Do the drivers?
it's a little archaic. TransFinder, interestingly enough, has the ability to track kids as they get on and get off. I don't know that we'll end up there anytime soon here, but yes, we do ridership numbers. We usually do them twice a year, and again, it's just a matter of the drivers. Yes.
Check marks.
And that thing on the
Looks
kids
like
are on. I probably wouldn't suggest doing that until mid to end of September, because oftentimes moms and dads have a little more energy to bring kids to school in the beginning of the year, and then they get, well, we don't need to do this anymore, and then they put them on the bus. So, and it really depends on, out here, you have a very high number of students that are playing sports after school and that kind of thing. So the ridership numbers can get a little strange where we think, okay, we only have 30 kids in an afternoon bus, but then fall sports end, and for the month of November, we have 110.
Yeah.
Because now everybody just wants to go home.
Yeah.
But yes, we can do that. We do that most every place. Usually the drivers will turn their bus routes back in around October 1st to us, and then we try to update them for you, because if there's, you know, the first stop on Potato Road, we haven't seen the kid all year, we usually try to save time and take that stop off.
Mhm.
Or if we're picking up a student that isn't necessarily caught up on here because we didn't know we had to pick them up, then we would add them to this, which of course adds time, which is what we don't want.
I have one more question. This is in regards to the kind of chronic bus driver shortage issue. What would you like to see the state do? Is there anything that can be
Oh,
done
God.
to help this?
I don't know if I should say that being recorded. I'm gonna have a meeting down there Thursday.
What would you want us to advocate for so that we can maybe fix this, I guess?
Yeah, because
I'll give you my thoughts, but we're hear from him, because he just went through the licensing process.
Okay.
So
we've heard before the licensing process
But you're
is
sitting
long,
here,
and the state
you
can do
went
things to
through the
speed it up
process.
and maybe
He's
hire
gonna say
more
what I'm gonna
instructors
say, I
and
think.
yada, yada.
I don't know, Steve.
They do make it a little more challenging to get your bus driver's license than I think it really needs to be.
Hmm.
I would say that.
Yeah.
It was quite a process. Somebody lied to me, and otherwise I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. But so I think that would definitely help, is if it was just a little bit easier to get. I mean, I don't want to say that in a bad way, because
Right.
obviously we're taking care of our kids and so on and so forth,
Right,
but
right, right.
I think it's a little excessive.
So the process is cumbersome in New Hampshire. Believe it or not, there are 2 people that handle everything school bus in the whole state.
That's kind of what we were getting at. We're like, that's only 2 people in the whole
And they're
state.
making a change to that. Right now, it's a wonderful state trooper who runs pupil transportation. They're actually shipping him back out in the field, and they're gonna they put that job out open to the public. And then one wonderful woman that works in the office there. So every single bus driver in New Hampshire needs to be rostered every year. They have to do 8 hours of training. Steve knows this, he comes and does it. We have to certify it. So she is responsible with Greg for doing every school district in New Hampshire. Whether you use a contractor or whether you're self-bused or you're Lebanon or you own your own buses, everybody has to go through that process. We fight a few things when we talk about getting a bus driver license. The amount of time it takes to get licensed is tough. Not because we can't get Steve in to train every day and do our part, but it takes, if we're lucky, 90 days to get somebody through the process. CDL drivers, the blood pressure readings keep going down every year, so when, that gets tougher to pass your DLT physical, which you have to do that first. The state doesn't regulate the drug test, we do that, that's another part that you have to jump through. But I would say the biggest hurdle that we face with the state is just the time that it takes. Because if you're not working, it gets tough, where we've gotten creative and we hire people before they even get licensed. That's a little tricky, we've been burned on that a few times, so I can pay them as they're doing their training. But it does take a long time to get licensed, and the tests are not easy.
Yeah.
I had a principal in a small district south of here tell me a while ago, I asked him how he was doing for bus drivers, and he said, well, if it tells you anything, I'm one of them.
Wow.
And I got my license last year, and it was more difficult than getting my administrator's license.
Yeah.
I don't know if you speak for that. I haven't taken it. So it's tough to get your license.
Are they able to go from Vermont to New Hampshire? And
I wish. You can go from New Hampshire to
I thought that
Vermont.
was-
So if I have fully licensed bus drivers in Vermont, they cannot drive in New Hampshire legally
Wow.
unless they go get what they call a school bus certificate. They have to go through the whole New Hampshire process. So if you move here from Connecticut and you're fully licensed, I could hire you tomorrow to drive in Vermont, as long as they went through the background check and then pass the drug test and that sort of stuff. But it could happen quickly if they're fully licensed. In New Hampshire, you still have to pass all of the New Hampshire stuff before you can drive.
So there's no reciprocity.
There is everywhere
Out.
else.
Yeah.
Because we have, I guess,
Yes, Steve can drive a bus legally for me tomorrow in Hartford.
that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
All right. Any other questions from the board? All right, we can open it up to public comments. And just state, if you got public comment, just state your name, town you're from, so that way Camel can hear you for the minute. Go ahead.
Okay, so my name is Cheryl Corbell. I usually come around with the bus time situation issues. A lot of you knew Cookie Hebert. She worked very hard with the bus service. So just a couple of things I'm noting, because I am very familiar with our area. CS5, I heard you guys comment a few times, it's lengthy, and it is. I mean, 48 Blackwater Road is just over here. That poor child's going all the way around the mulberry bush, down 118, and then finally back to school around 5 minutes of 8. That's long. That's definitely long. Correct me if I'm wrong, did I hear, I came in a few minutes late, did I hear these were not created with the software that was voted on?
That's correct.
Why?
They did not have access to the software yet, and they are still in the process of doing it. When they do have access, which should be soon, because I guess they had some hangups with it on Mac versus PC.
Oh, okay.
So the licensing took longer, I guess? Correct me
No,
if
it
I'm
had nothing
no,
to do with that.
Oh, okay,
No.
sorry, I
So
misunderstood.
Transfinder, the maps are very territorial.
Okay,
So it's a situation where, I compare it to this, I guess. Remember when you used to pay your cable bill and you could split your cable one box and you could have 17 TVs now,
Yeah.
you know, unless you stream stuff, which everybody does now. You can't do that. So we used to have one Transfinder, we use it in Milford, New Hampshire, and we have for years. You used to buy one license. Now every community and every district is licensed.
gotcha.
So we are gonna own the rights to the maps in this district
Good, okay,
when we're done with it.
Okay.
That process has just taken us longer than I could have ever imagined.
okay.
It's shocked me, honestly. I apologize. I take responsibility for not being done. I'm not the one doing it, however.
Yeah.
But it should have been done by now,
Yeah.
but it's just, there's nothing we can do about it. Again, I got an update today
Yeah.
from them saying they're working on it, and as soon as the licensing goes through, we'll fix it.
So these are based on the
Okay.
ones we've had in the
Alright.
past, and then once they're able to get that software up and running, you'll make tweaks as you need, you pump it back in, and we may have a date, like 2 months in the future, where we're like, okay, these are the software routes, these are much more streamlined, or we've made changes.
I don't think you're gonna see that happen, though.
No, it won't be that drastic.
Again, I am not the expert to speak to routes and stops, that's just
Yeah.
not what they pay me to do.
Yeah,
But I don't think that you're gonna see these get spit out of a machine
Yeah.
and they're gonna be night and day different, I just don't see that.
alright, go ahead, Joe.
CES7 Eric Shorey. First, that driver is amazing from everything I've ever seen him do. I sat here a couple times to pick up my kids and he's doing a full-blown bus inspection. I never see any other driver doing that. He's out there checking the hood's hanging down, he's hanging off the hood, and then he's checking under lights and sounds, and he needs to be commended because it's very noticeable. Also, that poor man had the Grafton route last year, which I had to follow a couple times to go ski jumping, and those kids are bouncing all over that bus. So I really like to hope that parents will start holding their children accountable so that we aren't scaring our drivers away or stressing out other children. I know it's a wish, but
Hard agreed, I agree.
you know, poor Mr. Shorey, my husband and I would be sitting there, we could watch his kids bouncing from seat to seat before he would take off. So it's definitely ridiculous. But again, that one's another long one, 6:28 getting on and
Yep.
to school by 7:50. I mean, I'm familiar with that way. I grew up there. You know, that's definitely long, but also to be going from Wild Meadow Road out in Grafton all the way up to Hill Court and Canaan, you know, it doesn't seem long because you're looking at your territories, but it's definitely long. When Cookie was here, we had some issues with M15 back in the day, which then became M5, and I don't know what it is now. I guess today it's going to be M11. So we had issues and concerns. Matthew was coming home with migraines and puking for the amount of time he was on that bus. And after a lot of consideration and deliberation, the school board set it up that whoever got on first would be one of the first ones to get off, so we reversed it. So it was fair to all the kids on the bus. It wasn't just my son, but it was a point. So here we are again, though. We're doing that. I'm just going to say I'm at 162. So we're on at 6:40, and we're back home around 4:16. In the past, it was a pickup of 7 a.m. and home at 3:30. So, you know, I don't know. I just feel like we've got to figure out how to make it fair for all the kids. Kids are tired. Kids are miserable. I don't know. I don't agree with it. And then the one last thing I wanted to touch base was last year, you know, I got a lot of pushback and argument of, well, the kid can walk the road. And if people are familiar with Back Bay Road, it is a back road, and there is no curbing, there's no sidewalks, no nothing. While my kids are fully capable of walking, I would like to know how it would have been addressed or handled after Timmy's accident. So Christmas Eve, Timmy lacerated both tendons on his leg and was in a cast for 8 weeks, PT for 8 weeks. How would he have made it on crutches in the winter from bus stop to home? He couldn't. So I take care of Sierra's daughter on the side, so I messaged Sierra and said, he's not going to be on the bus. And I had to go to work, and I had to plead to adjust my work schedule so that I could transport the child. So I think those are just considerations. And then one last consideration, I understand and I support the school reasons for separating your elementary from your middle and high school, but from the parent perspective, it proves challenging. While my 2 biological children are here at the middle and high school, when I've had Sierra's daughter, she's on a different bus, different school, we couldn't get it to line up to where if I was running 5 minutes late to get home, who was there to get her off the bus? We couldn't do it. So again, I took a hit from work and had to rearrange schedules, and I was killing myself. Running around back to work, trying to figure out who could get what kid, who could pick up what kid. And it took 4 of us to transport children. So I just, those are, and I'm not the only parent who's feeling this. We have a mom club, and we float on the lake every weekend for like 3 or 4 hours, and we just complain and talk about life problems. And it takes a village to raise our families. We respect that. And, a lot of my concern is, parents need to be held accountable too. My children go on the bus. Cookie knew if my kids ever misrepresented or misbehaved, you finish your route, you come back, you park your bus on my front lawn, we're going to handle it right then and there. It's not going to go far. But then you've got kids on the bus who are being disruptive and throwing things, and they're just, nothing's happening. And if the driver says anything to the parent, they're screamed at for looking at the parent or the child cross-eyed, and they shouldn't be. So I'm hoping people are hearing this, that parents need to be more accountable. Kids need to be accountable. Welcome to the real world. So, thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
My name is Emily Curtis, and I just kind of want to pick up right off one of the things that Cheryl had said about being a parent who has children both at EBS and IRS. There's definitely a challenge in not being able to have our children either together on one bus. There's an added challenge this year because we no longer have the after-school care that we did have last year, and we had actually even followed up with another child care facility, and the moment we said, she'll take the bus to you, she was like, nope, I'm not waiting for the bus, because an adult has to be there for a young student. And so just shy of begging my employer to please possibly change my schedule, that's kind of why I'm here tonight, is just we're trying to find what works for our family, and it's really, really hard kind of based off of the separation. And I understand that's kind of where we may be the minority in that, but it's definitely putting a huge strain on our family and our meetings of operation and timeline. So just consideration.
Just to that point, I know that there is some, there are some buses that go from, we talked this, I think, right before you came in. There are buses that go from the high school to an elementary school and then go off on their routes. And that might be, in certain circumstances, maybe we can come up with ways that like a kid can take, and then their parent can meet at the elementary school or something like that and take them all. There are solutions. I think we can figure out solutions somehow.
I have a question, just like
Yeah,
as
go
a
ahead.
new member of the board. Why was the decision made to separate the elementary schools? Was it logistics, like transporting, like logistically, or was it the concern of older kids mixing with younger kids?
You want
That's
to
exactly
handle
the
that?
concern.
Yeah.
The amount of complaints and concerns I had received from parents about inappropriate behavior, especially sexualized behavior by the older students, being witnessed by kindergartners. Finally, there was one extreme incident of a sexual nature, and I can't make a kindergartner unsee something. So in those kind of cases, I really have to protect my youngest population, and so the decision was made to split buses by age group. The other theory in that is that kids could get home from the elementary schools earlier, right? So if you're just a CES bus or just an EBS bus, there's no reason why that bus can't be at the school waiting to pick up your kid at 2:45, right? So school's over at 3, we put your kid right on the bus, you go home. Previously, it's everyone started, all the buses started at the high school and the middle school, and then would have to travel. Not a huge route time, to get to EVS. But as the principal at CES, I would be waiting until 3:15, 3:20 before I could put kids on the bus. So that's sort of the unintended bonus of it. The real portion of it was to protect the innocent kids from seeing some fairly graphic and horrifying things.
Okay, thank you.
Just
Yeah, for the public.
one question.
Yeah, quick, yeah.
Only because from the Mom Club, we have a teacher here at the high school who's concerned she will be here until like 3:15. Her kids at Kane Elementary, there's no bus that's running from Kane Elementary to the high school. And she got the last spot for the after-school program out there, but there's 3 other moms who don't know what they're gonna do yet. So some consideration of some sort to help transport the staff children from the elementary to the high school or the middle school so they can take their kids would be something to think about.
I'm sorry, Tim, can I just jump in?
Yeah, go ahead.
We have some ability to have some flexibility for those teachers, so they should talk to their principal.
All right,
We can adjust some hours that way.
I'll mention it to them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, Cheryl.
The behavior issue is sort of a perennial issue too.
Mhm.
I also do remember there seemed to be a disconnect between it happening on the bus, but then it not being reported by the bus drivers to the principals. That we really needed to kind of get that. It's important that it goes all the way down the pike.
And I appreciate what Cheryl is saying about the parents and kids being held accountable.
Yeah.
We had over $11,000, $12,000 billed to the district in damaged seats. We bill parents,
Just the seats.
just
Just
seats
seats.
alone.
The number's gonna get big now.
Yeah.
And they're gonna cost twice or 3 times as much, right,
Right.
to replace twice as much. And so, we bill, and we very rarely see a parent pay.
Yeah.
And that's extremely hard for us, right? That's extremely hard. And we do come up against, just like the drivers do, not my kid, not my son, not my daughter, they don't do that, you're mean, you're targeting, you're this, you're that, you're these things. I believe, Steve, that we will have enhanced surveillance on these buses so that there will be no question. The cameras are much, much better. There's audio on these, correct? So we'll make sure to note, we need to make sure that the signs on the buses are up to date with that. We'll be able to bring in your mother and say,
Yeah.
here's what they did, and here's why your kid is off the bus for the next 10 days. We get often, but my child will never get to school again if you don't pick them up on the bus. Well, then your child needs to learn that they need to behave on the bus and be a responsible citizen. So we're really hoping that with this enhanced surveillance that we will be able to definitely show parents exactly what the behavior is and why it needs to stop.
Did you see a decrease last year in incident calls by splitting the routes? Like, did you have fewer?
I have very, very few write-ups on elementary school buses.
Yeah, because it's
The
not the
majority
elementary
of
school kids that are acting up
It's the
normally.
majority of the middle school kids,
More
but,
than-
Can I follow up on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have a couple follows. And one will help you answer the question you asked about the high school, middle school. And I know, and I appreciate what Cheryl says, and then, Mom behind me, so it's not perfect by separating that. But I will tell you, when we were operating in that world, it wasn't hard, it was a nightmare. But I hope you never go back to the old way. It was awful. So one of the things that we are able to do now, but yes, we did deal with a number of behavior write-ups out here. One of the things that we're able to do now, instead of our staff having to try to figure out what school we even have to go to figure out who the student on the camera is misbehaving, I already know it's a Canaan kid because they're on that bus, right? So that saves the staff a lot of time in identifying the kid. One of the bigger reasons why most of the other districts around you have gone to this model is for the reason that Amanda pointed out. But when we were trying to make, and depending on which route you talk to, and Cheryl knows the area better than I do, and she has some great ideas about the buses, whether you think they're efficient or not, before, it was like a pile of jacks and we just threw them because we had kids from every school in the district on every bus, it seemed like. So there was no way for us to make them efficient in that model. The other thing that would happen to you is your high school principal, your EDS principal, your CES principal, did not control their own bus. So if they wanted to take a field trip and it was going to go out of the district, they had to get back at a time so that bus could be somewhere else. Now they don't have to do that, and that's a huge benefit. Or we would try to tweak the routes. The IRS would want to add 2 kids to the bus, but I couldn't do it because the bus was already going somewhere else for CES. So just the principles of being able to kind of quote unquote control their own buses is a big positive for them, I would think. Again, that's going to get cleaned up. Remember, you're in the 2nd year of that change, and that's probably about a drastic transportation change that you've ever seen yet.
Yeah.
In recent years.
Yeah, no, I got, a few emails last year, from people in town. I saw a bus and then a bus go right after it. I'm like, yes, because this is why. Now we can have monitors sitting on the bus, the problematic buses. If you have a lot of kids, we can actually have a monitor on it. All right, anything else from the board?
But I will just say, Emily, send me an email. I'm happy to try to help you figure out that situation. I know it's hard.
I have just a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead. Just, say your name.
Yep, Jessica Stewart. So as far as the bands go, do those have videos as well, or no?
Yes, they do.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
They have one head though. They don't have the fancy.
It's
ones
okay.
like
We were just having some challenges, and it would just knowing that there is a video.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With audio too.
Awesome.
With audio, great. Thank you.
All right, next question. Go ahead.
Just quickly, do you pay for or incentivize the licensing for bus drivers, or is that something that the person has to get on their own?
No, we pay for all the costs of it except for the actual license.
Okay, and
So
what's that cost?
I don't know. I don't have any Hampshire license.
I don't remember.
Okay.
It wasn't
So
that
it's just like your driver's license. It just has endorsements on it. So we pay for the cost of, yes, we pay for all of the rest of the cost.
Okay.
The training, et cetera.
Yes,
all
and
that.
the cost of your physical. When you renew your license, we pay for the cost of all that, except for the license itself.
Okay.
We pay for the testing too.
I've heard a few people wanting to get a CDL license, and I'm wondering if a good way to incentivize them is to try to.
Yeah.
Send them right over to Steve.
Send them to me first.
Send them to Amanda first.
She does it usually before I get them. but-
That was Corinne Morris, Kaden, Pamela.
Oh,
All right,
sorry.
No, it's okay, it's Pamela. All right, any other public comment? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Taylor Nett from Dorchester. I was just looking at the schedule, and so I work up at the high school. I live in Dorchester, and I was just kind of curious to see what the drop-off time would be. And once again, it's like, it's tight. And I was just like wondering if you have entertained the idea of a drop-off at the high school. And then like I was looking at, the last stop, like we were saying, is almost an hour and a half, and I've got a child in kindergarten, so I can't have her dropped off like an hour and a half on the bus. I guess worst case scenario. But I was just wondering if you consider the high school drop-off.
From what area? From using an.
Oh, I'm sorry, from Canaan Elementary School to
Like
the
even
high
a
school.
van, send a van over or something like that, or anything that can get just a few kids.
Yeah,
over there.
I'm not the only one in that situation.
I wonder if that's a staff.
As Amanda knows, if she
A van route.
calls me and asks me to try to figure something out, I do my best to do it.
Yeah.
I would caution them going down a road of
Yeah.
where we slowly
Sure.
get back to, because as soon as you make a couple exceptions,
Yep.
we're gonna get inundated.
Yeah,
But-
I know that.
But, yes, that's something that we could do. You have a lot of moving parts in your district also.
Totally.
Right in the morning every time, between vocational runs and that sort of stuff. So some of the special ed stuff is still going. So, we would just have to make sure we have people that do it. Because what that will do is eliminate, even if we were just familiar, it would eliminate that bus being able to do a CES field trip at 8 o'clock, for instance. Right? So when you have as many moving parts as you guys do, you want to make sure that you do your homework before we figure it out. But I'd be willing to do that if we thought there was a need.
Yeah, it
Obviously,
sounds like there is a need, so I've got a couple other options, right? So either I run something, because you're talking afternoon, right? I'm hearing afternoon.
Yeah.
So either we do that, or we just provide coverage for those kids at CES until they can get there, 3:30-ish. That might be the better route, because I'm not sure how I get a van with those kids without taking them out of school a little bit early.
Yeah.
So let me think about that. Let me think about, do we make exceptions for you all to get out of school early? Do I provide coverage at the school for those kids? I know often we don't finish loading buses at CES bussers at CES until like 3:30-ish. So I'm not sure, I can't figure out a solution, but I'll work on that.
Yeah, that's great, and I appreciate. This district is huge geographically, and I think that
Yeah, we're happy
You
to
guys
help.
do a great job.
We
Yeah.
appreciate you working here, so.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you.
But that could be your bonus.
Maybe there's a bus that, you know, instead of starting at the high school at 3:05, it starts at, you know, CES at 3, picks up those few kids, and then just comes over here, meets them. I don't know, whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, I'm gonna see what,
Yeah, see what
I
you can
will
do.
work on that though.
See what you can do. Any other public comment? Board questions?
So,
Well, then Kathleen,
oh, yeah,
then
go ahead.
So you mentioned monitors a few minutes ago. What's the number of current monitors you have on the buses?
Every van has one. I have a snowbird that's here for a little while in the fall. I think we have 5 currently.
That's been pretty consistent
Yeah.
throughout the last
Yeah.
couple of years then, right?
Yes, correct. I think the old contract required 3, but that was quite a few years ago before we had brought in more special ed vehicles and
Yeah.
things like that. I think we have 1 monitor. We brought on a couple fantastic ones last year. Again, that rate's going to go up too.
Good.
So I'll be able to go. Amanda's great at helping me recruit the paras to ride on the buses with the kids.
Yeah.
I think we have 1 monitor that we're able to free up to ride the yellow ones every day. We kind of try to move her around. Amanda did talk about new camera systems. I don't want to bore you with it, but currently you have 1 camera in the front, if you will, probably similar to this thing.
Yeah.
It's pointing right at you. And then you have 1 in the back. Seeing down behind the seats is almost impossible. I don't think we've caught a kid vaping on a bus in 10 years. You can't catch them because they're smarter than us.
Yeah.
So now your cameras, there's 1 in the front, 1 in the middle, 1 in the back, but they have 3 camera heads built into them.
They're like,
And so it's like a rooftop view of the bus. So you can see down to the floor in every seat. There's gonna be some grumpy.
oh, September and October.
But the camera systems are fantastic.
Yeah.
So yes, there's not a spot on the bus, including the gyro area that you can't see,
Good deal.
down to the floor.
I love it. I love it. Do you have a question?
Yes, so this is probably a dumb question, but back in the day, of course, when we were walking up and down snow-covered hills for
Both ways.
both ways for hours, there was a time where we, children of the 80s, just let ourselves into the home without an adult to meet the bus.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's liability reasons that preclude that now, but I just wanted to make sure in case there were a question about that, because you know, we've heard from several of our parents that have spoke up both tonight and in the past, especially where in regards to the separating routes, that you know, they may have issues with kids being dropped off at different times. If we have parents, if that is kind of the minority of parents, but it's a huge issue for the ones that it impacts, is there a way that parents can kind of sign a waiver to say, I don't need to have an adult there to meet the bus, let my kid off for the 15 minutes until their older sister comes home?
So I'm gonna make Mom happy now. With my hat, our policy, and it's very strict, is kindergarten kids do not get off any bus that we run anywhere without a parent.
Yep.
That we can see.
Yeah.
And it can't just be the car's there.
Yeah.
We have to see them. I'd rather take a phone call from
Yeah.
parent mad because
Yeah.
kindergarten student was still on the bus than us dropping one off. Your policy, however, is different, so that's what it could preclude.
Okay.
Your own policy is different, which is what could preclude her student from getting off next year. So we not only follow ours, we follow yours. If I get in writing from the boss that this student can get off at X stop without a parent, I'll follow it, but you guys are taking all ownership of that student.
Right.
If something goes bad,
Right.
we're gonna hold that up and say,
We said, yeah.
Right.
so I don't have many of those.
Yeah.
And we have 120 routes that run every day at our location in White River. So I don't have many of those.
Yeah.
So you see where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
Because a missing kid is
Yeah.
Yeah.
real.
We don't want that, no.
No.
Yeah.
So our policy says kindergarten.
Yeah.
I don't see us wavering from that.
Yeah.
But if Amanda gave me approval to drop a student off, I would do it.
What we do, we just ask the parent to send a note And then we will let a child off with that.
I got tired of having to go out. I
To
worked
clarify,
third
that note has to come from her.
Yeah.
It can't be a note one day where the
Right. Let Jimmy
secretary
off
says,
and it's
let Jimmy
okay.
off without a
Yeah.
parent. That has to come from her to me.
Yeah.
No, I worked third shift for years and missed that bus
Yeah.
more than I cared to remember. And I'm like, I'm writing a note. They know my kids know I'm home. I'm home.
Yeah.
You know, and that worked. But yeah, maybe we don't want to publicize that too much. But if the principal should know if the parents call and they're like, this is my issue, that's a solution.
It's a tool in the toolkit.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Any other questions from the board? Any other questions from the public while we're here? Go ahead.
Just want to add in that last year, I had asked for I guess it was 8 at that point, to come down Fernwood instead of backtracking Fernwood to come down Back Bay and drop like they used to. They did it for 20 years. I was told no, but yet half the season we saw 3 buses driving by our house every day. So that was annoying. And then the follow-up comment of, yes, we wrote our kids' notes, 3rd grade. You can drop them. Dad will be home in 5 minutes. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
But I can't do that now with Autumn, who's only 7, coming in an hour before my other one.
Sure.
So just adding
Fair.
that into the fact.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, just to build off of that, that was my primary concern was I have no problem releasing my daughter to my son's care, but if my son's bus from IRS is running behind, that leaves my 5, almost 6-year-old at a bus stop by herself,
Yeah.
and that shifts it for me. Like
And that was witnessed in Grafton. Mr. Shorey would drop off a kid, and that kid would sit there at Tunnel Road and wait for another bus to come with the siblings. And some nights we would catch it, and so you could tell they'd been waiting for like 10 minutes. Other times, I don't know how long they were waiting, but you could see these kids were waiting for each other. And it was really sad to see some of the smaller children waiting for the older children, especially on Route 4 in Grafton.
Yeah. All right. Any other public comments? All right, cool. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. We need to entertain a motion to approve these. Right? You need them approved?
Make a motion we approve the bus routes for 2024-2025 school year as presented.
I'll second.
All right, and as always, we realize that changes will happen. You guys will bring them as you have more changes coming in. Yep. All right, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions. All right. Okay, so up next, we have Business Administrator's Report and Financials.
So we do have Michelle with us.
Yay, hello, Michelle. All right. Any questions on the financials? Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, just, in general, one of the things I look at is the budget balance, and I look for things that are sort of larger
Has
than.
not been cleaned up yet. So I'm still working on closing fiscal year 24, so
Yeah.
this is the first report I've run on 25 now, so I need to go through it myself and I haven't done some of the transfers that need to be done.
Okay.
So
So,
if
like-
you notice, yeah, some of the budget
Well,
balance.
when you look at it, it almost looks like we've had to hire extra people, last minute hiring, that kind of thing, so that didn't happen, that's more of a function
No,
of,
it's probably just where it hit and it should have. It
like
just
the
needs to be-
teacher's EES is over about $50,000, that kind of thing. So, when you look at it, that's what you would think, is that we had to have some last minute.
So you'll have to check some of
Yeah,
this lines.
I do.
Thank you.
And then the other thing I asked last time about getting annual year-end 2024 financial, 7/1/2023 to 6/31/2024. And that was in the minutes of 7/9, so, we can get there at
I
some
don't
point.
believe we've closed the year yet.
Okay,
So we're not closing
the year, yeah.
so we're not closed yet,
Closes.
okay, so that's fine.
Okay, that's why.
That's good, yeah.
All right, any other questions? Nope. All right, next thing in your packet, so this is the school board lease to purchase that we have. I have have the same one that they gave us last time. There's nothing more up, is there anything updated?
There should have been an updated version of that.
Well,
Wasn't there an updated
it looks the
version?
same to me. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but
It's the
this one still
same.
says 43,180
Yeah.
at 4 years for 1180, 835 a year, which the math doesn't add up. The only thing it says is taxes will be added. So I guess that was one of our questions.
It's interest that needs to be added.
Anyway, is that what you have?
It's this, yeah, Martha put this in this is, so I have the actual like lease payment schedule.
Oh, okay.
So it does break it out into, the payment is the,
11,835.
no, it should be the 975, the 5-year one.
Oh, because I have a 4-year one in the packet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, is that the new one? Steve, do you know which one is the new updated one?
But the 5 years should be the new one.
It's the
Okay.
97.
July
It's
11th or
9/7.
July 10th? Which one is the newest form? I
The
have
date.
one dated July 9th, and 11th, and one dated the 10th.
I'm guessing the 11th. Because I have the 10th as the
So the one-
4-year.
Yeah, the 10th is the one that's in the packet.
All right, what do you got?
You want to make some copies?
Oh, you make, okay.
I'm good at copying.
All right, good deal.
Okay, so this is
All right, that's old, so that'll tell us the updated price. That makes more sense.
Right. So the payments do include,
Yeah.
interest every year, so that's why it's.
Okay.
Not the 5-year payments of
we tabled this.
97, whatever it was.
Okay. Yeah, we tabled this at last
Yeah.
meeting, yes. We were like, the math doesn't add up.
And the math, it wasn't mathing.
Yes. Ignore that one.
Okay. Yeah, so the total equipment cost is for 43,180, excuse me, but with the interest, it's 48,687.70 after the 5 years.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's better.
There you go.
Thank you. Oh, that makes, okay,
Yeah.
that looks better.
That makes sense.
So 4 annual payments of 97.57, right? 9757 times 4. And then there's okay, that makes more sense. All right.
And what's the breakout for the total amount of interest?
Total interest is 5,507.70.
Okay. That's 5,000.
So the payments are actually 9,737.54. It's a little different than
What?
the
97.
payment plan they gave us here.
And what's the rate, interest rate?
6.39.
All right.
So the 4 annual payments break down to what?
5 annual
Five.
payments.
It should be 5, right?
Oh, that should say 5.
9,737.54.
So there's an error on that.
There's an error on.
Yeah, they said
On the cover.
9757.
July 11.
It's off by
cover.
20.
So 9737 times 5. Okay, all right. That makes more sense. Any questions? Any other questions about the scoreboard for Steve? All right.
Will we need more?
More scoreboard or more money?
Indian River School, yes.
Yeah, Indian River School needs an indoor scoreboard. That one is on the next on the list.
That is next on the
And
list.
this has been budgeted, we've already got it in the budget.
Yep.
We're not doing, but, I mean, I know we're leasing it year to year, but we do have like before we get into the capital reserve funds, that's gonna be over 50, is that?
Well, this is a lease to own.
This is
Yeah.
least,
Lease
yeah.
to own, okay.
Yeah,
We
we
budgeted
will own it and we'll have it.
11.5, I think I put in the budget, and we ended up, we're gonna do 97, so I mean, we're under the amount that I had budgeted for this particular year.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on that? Entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion that we approve the Daktronics updated contract for scoreboard financing as discussed. I don't want to say as presented because the sheet
Yeah.
had some things on it.
So that's 5 annual payments of 9737.54.
Correct.
Okay, and that
Yes.
would be in your motion.
Mhm.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay.
Because
Fair.
I don't have an accurate paper in front of me.
Yeah.
And that is uncomfortable for me to
Yeah.
sit here and say, I approve it.
No, because she's talking about that contract, she needs to see that contract.
The cover sheet.
As a corrected version, am I correct?
Yeah.
Kathy?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's nothing right on either one of these pieces of paper in front of me.
Is
Yeah.
it correct in the actual contract, like in the actual lease
I have a
contract?
lease, yes.
So
We
I think
make
that
a
the
copy
paper
of that.
that we have
This was
seen.
You
just like
copy what you got for the actual payments there? Does that match what we just talked about?
This is what I have from the lease that has not been
Well,
approved.
does it show that we're paying 6.39% and that
Yes.
we're making the annual payments of the 9737?
It does say that.
No?
Okay, and it gives us the grand total, 48,685?
48,687.70.
All right.
I didn't have the 87, but okay.
Could
As
we
long
have
as
that
it's
copy
there.
for us?
Yeah.
So why don't you, can you make the copies and then we'll attach it? And that will be as corrected.
There we
Yeah.
go. Thank you. All right.
So that would make you more comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can
Same.
see it in writing, and you got, yeah, having a contract that's correct is better than having a cover sheet that's incorrect.
Right.
That's for sure. So.
Maybe we really should see the contract.
We should. You're right.
That's fine.
Well, we will own this.
What happens if it breaks? The day after it's installed.
All right, thank you. All right, yes, that's,
Thank you.
Yeah, so
That's
this one
happening.
has the July 30, 2024 date at the
Yeah,
top
yeah,
of
yeah.
it, so.
all right,
We can write the date received.
yep,
Yeah.
cool.
August 13th.
All right. Any other discussion on the school? Now that you see the actual dollars, what we're doing.
Yeah, we're approving the
I'm
purchase
still reading.
price.
Yep.
Do you need me to amend my?
No, because I think you said for this
Okay.
amount,
Yes.
for 5 annual payments.
Yes.
All right. Any other discussion?
No.
You get to move to vote.
Good.
All right. All those in favor of the motion to approve the school board as discussed, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right. Fun times on the field. Up next, new business, Jack and Dorothy Byrne Foundation grant for $20,000 for the MVRHS New York City trip. I'll entertain a motion for that.
So we accept the generous donation of $20,000 from the Byrne Foundation for the purpose of the high school New York City trip.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on this? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions. All right, so we got some policy here. We have 1, 2. However you want to do this, you want to do all
Yeah.
the second readings at
Yeah.
once?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. All right, so it'll flip us from one page to another.
Yeah.
Make motion that we approve for second reading and adoption, policy AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity employment, and anti-discrimination plan. Policy ACE, procedural safeguard, non-discrimination on the basis of disability. Policy ACF, food and nutrition services, anti-discrimination and civil rights complaint. Policy ABB/GBEC, drug-free workplace and drug-free schools. And I said the slash, so.
Yeah, it's the,
Okay.
yeah, just say the number letters.
And policy GBEC/ADB, drug-free workplace and drug-free schools. Policy Policy ABC/GBED/JICG, prohibitions regarding use and possession of tobacco products, e-cigarettes, and e-liquids in and on school facilities and ground. And people hate me, so policy GBED/ADC/JICG, prohibitions regarding use and possession of tobacco products, e-cigarettes, and e-liquids in and on school facilities and grounds. And also
Just say
policy
the letters.
JICG/ADC/GBED as previously.
Same thing.
As
All right.
previously mentioned.
Do we have a second for all those?
Second.
All right. So this is second reading on all these policies. We discussed a little bit. Any further discussion? We did not change anything in these.
We did,
Wait,
whatever
wait.
updates that you all made
The
to the
updates we
last
made them.
time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But we didn't make any other changes to these.
Correct.
Sorry.
Right.
Cool. Any discussion?
Are we, do we do this whole block, them all
All right.
at once?
Yeah, okay, yeah, we're voting on them all at once, but I'll go down. So policy AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity employment, anti-discrimination plan, anything on that one? These are all, a lot of these required by law.
Right.
I don't think, I don't remember which ones we changed stuff on. But, all right. And then ACE, procedural safeguards. Anything on that one?
I don't believe we changed anything.
No, I don't think we changed anything on that one. And then ACF. I'm trying to flip through all these forms that are in the packet. There we go. ACF, this is food and nutrition services, anti-discrimination. I don't believe we changed anything on that one either.
No, there was just a small addition to that one.
Yep.
That we had to, no, ACF, I'm sorry, that was a new policy.
Yeah, new policy, but we didn't tweak it.
Yep.
School Board Association. All right, ADB, GDEC, drug-free workplace. Oh yeah, we had talked about, that's what it was. We had made some changes as to where we put certain things, so we moved some things around. But I was happy with that.
I have one or two suggestions potentially
Yeah,
to the, I saw that you guys changed those things around.
the
but-
drug-free workplace and drug-free
Yeah.
schools?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that to ADB/GBEC.
yeah.
Basically, page 2, it is under section 4, section 5C, when you're talking about in order to make employees aware of dangers, the district will endeavor to. It says establish a drug-free awareness program. It seems to me if you put maintain a drug-free, I mean, this just says you're going to make it. Obviously, if you maintain when you're going to establish it,
Right.
so it's more of a longer term. You don't want to have to go back and change it to say keep it once you establish it.
It's true.
Right.
That kind of thing. So it's just more of a.
We can just say establish and maintain. Like just
Sure,
add in and
yeah,
maintain, because
just-
that way, if for some reason we don't, then they can reestablish it and, let's say 10 years if we're.
Yeah. I was just thinking you didn't want to have to modify it when you did it.
Good point.
So, and then I was curious about the page 3, section DB, which is the superintendent's implementation kind of section.
Yep.
In B, it says, in order to maintain the workplace, will perform a biannual review of the implementation of this policy, and shall be designed to, but do you really want to do it twice a year, or is
I
it
do
an
not
annual
hope I am
review?
happy for you to, I am happy to amend
Well, I don't see
that.
the purpose in that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't see the purpose of you doing it twice a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I would add,
Unless it's required by law.
unless
Yeah,
it's
oh,
required,
yeah.
true. Is it? No, this isn't a lawful
Well, the
requirement.
policy is required, but that part might not be.
Yeah.
You have to change biennial to annual.
And then I would honestly, if you're going to go through that much, we're going to be doing an annual review of the implementation. And I would say something like, the results of this review will be submitted to the school board. I mean, obviously you just even put it in your superintendent report or something.
Yeah, sure.
That it's communicated.
Does this mean biennial as in every 2 years?
I think it does.
Oh, it
As opposed
does.
to every other, as biannual?
Oh, I'm thinking biannual.
I was thinking
You're
biannual
right.
too, and then I'm like, wait a minute,
I'm
that's
like,
biennial.
Now that I'm looking at it, I think it's every couple.
All right, every 2 years,
All right,
is that
every
better
2
than?
years.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
we can just keep.
That's
We
my
just keep it,
bad.
that's even better, that's even better than biannual.
Okay, I'm sorry, I saw biannual
Yeah.
and thought, okay, we're good.
All right, anything else on that one?
A before E.
So just the tweak of establish and maintain.
Yeah.
Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry about that.
All right, did you have anything on ADC, GBED, JICG, prohibitions for tobacco, e-cigarettes, et cetera?
No, but I do believe this is where we made this more significant changes.
Yes. Oh, yeah, this is the one where we made it so that for people, all other persons, no visitors, we made it so it was very clear that students are not able to have, and no one under the age of 21 should have it on the grounds.
Yeah, we matched the wording to
Yep.
the actual RSA.
Yep.
So in the first paragraph, I actually have the changes here. I was frantically looking for
Oh,
them.
thank
We
you.
didn't make any in the others, but I found my notes. So in the first paragraph, it says, the first sentence, state law prohibits the use of any tobacco product, including but not limited to.
Yep.
Yeah.
We add that in. On the next page, under B, students, no person under the age of 21, we
Yep.
changed. In the paragraph up above that, it should say, the final sentence should read classrooms, or the final line there in the first paragraph should read classrooms, study areas, cafeterias, gymnasiums, maintenance rooms, athletic fields and facilities in storage areas. We
Yep.
have that?
Yep.
Great. We should have taken out in section B, there was a paragraph that read, students are also subject to the provisions of D2 below. We copied D2 below and put it up there.
Pasted it up there, that's right.
Yep. And then finally on the third page, the final paragraph should read something like violators may be reported to local law enforcement at the discretion of administration.
Yep.
How'd I do?
That's
Yep.
good.
Yep, sounds good.
All right, so that was the last of all the ones for second reading. Anything else on any of those policies for second reading? All right, all those in favor of approval for second reading and adoption, policy AC, ACE, ACF, ADB, GBEC, GBEC/ADB, ADC/GBED/JICG, policy GBED/ADC/JICG, and policy JICG/ADC/GBED for second reading and adoption. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? All right, those are set. Now we can have a motion for rescissions.
Make a motion that we rescind the following policies. Policy ACE-FD, section 504 referral form. Policy ACE-FE permission disclosure form. Policy ACE-FF, section 504 identification/placement accommodation plan. Policy ACE-R, information regarding Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Policy ACE-RA, responsibilities of Section 504 compliance officer. Policy ACE-RB, Section 504 non-discrimination policy grievance procedure. Policy ACE-RC, questions concerning Section 504. Policy ACE-RD, 504 identification/evaluation/placement. Policy ACE-RE, section 504, parents/students' rights in identification, evaluation, and placement.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, now you have to say them all. All right, all those in favor of rescinding all those policies as stated signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? All righty. Agenda items for next meeting, believe it or not, it will be the first day of school. So I'm sure we will have every principal here super happy now. Super excited to be sharing how they went, but we will have like a general first day, how to go kind of thing, school readiness reports, what they did to get ready, committee reports, things like that. Sure, there'll be
The
other
school
things.
readiness report will actually come from the facilities department.
Yeah.
So that will look much like what we had
Right.
at finance and facilities.
I was just going to say, he gave us a pretty good list of everything that he did at finance facilities, and so that'll be a lot of the same thing.
I am I will check with the principals, I'm not sure, you will see them here, they might come to the next one though, if not
I
this
don't
one.
expect them on the first day of school.
Okay, thank you.
No, we do not. No.
I appreciate that.
No.
They'll never make the second day.
We want
End
them.
of the bus route questions.
Yeah, unless they're driving the
Right.
bus and just getting here. I'm sure we'll have other, like I said, committee reports, things like that, and all that other good stuff.
I will be giving you a report from the extracurricular and co-curricular
Oh, yeah.
stipend committee. We did meet.
Good.
And we made some changes, so I will be able to provide you with that report.
Okay, great.
Cool. And I'm excited because as a parent of a high schooler, I got another poll, like what clubs would your kid be interested in? So my kid filled it out and got it in. In times of finance facilities, if you have a chance this fall, get over to the IRS gym. They replaced the skylight. It is all done now. I haven't seen it yet, but you say it's amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Seth's
That
nodding
thing's
over there.
Transformed.
That's awesome.
So, and they repainted.
And they painted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So get over there if you
Say
can.
yes.
If you happen to be up here, pop in. I'll pop in next week.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
All right. Anything else for next time? No. All right. Public comment. Any public comment? Yes. Just state your name and town you're from for the camera for the minutes.
My name is Jake. I'm from Grafton.
Last name?
I had a question regarding so this is according to the annual report.
What was the last name so we can get it in the minutes?
VOGL.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
So the reading writing proficiency is at 36%. I was wondering what the board was doing in regards to that, and if it's a question of resources. Sorry. How much? What are the resources I needed, or how much money is needed to get that number up to at least 90%?
Sure. Well, for like specific questions, well, we have a lot. I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we do. But specific stuff like that, we direct to the administration to work on that sort of thing. We set our goals, and then have you been able to talk to the principals at the schools, or talk to the administration here? Because they would be the best ones to have the answers to all those questions of what we're actually doing, like what we're doing to raise those.
Okay. Is it so? There is a plan for that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we really are focusing on here is an intervention block, which we will have implemented at all 4 schools starting this year. Last year I had 3 out of the 4 schools with an intervention block. This year we'll have 4 out of 4 schools with an intervention block. And that intervention block bases tailor-makes lessons to address the weaknesses or gaps for our readers. So what we do is we gather a lot of data on our kids. We do a lot of testing. We do testing in the form of a universal screener. So at the beginning of the year, I give you a test and I see that Dawn scores here and she should be expected to make X amount of growth in her school year. And then when we give her that test at the end of the year, we want to see that she's made that growth. So that's the universal screener that we do. In between that, because that's not enough, right? I need to know where kids are at and where I want them to be, but that doesn't tell me how effective my regular curriculum is. So in between those 2 tests, I then give progress monitoring tools to kids. So if I'm noticing that Hope is really struggling in reading and maybe it's phonemic awareness that's really giving her a difficult time, we might start to look at a progress monitoring tool. We usually use AimsWeb for that and test kids every 2 weeks. And that's kind of a targeted heavy duty test. I don't want to test every kid every 2 weeks because I'll only be testing kids. So I look at that and then I look and I see, okay, AimsWeb is telling me that Hope is deficient in her, in phonemic awareness, we'll say, as a 3rd grader. So we then look at the intervention block for Hope, focusing on that. Kathleen's intervention may be different because her deficiency may be different in something else. So every day our kids have an intervention block at all schools and they'll be getting that tailor-made instruction. The game changes a little bit in 3rd and 4th grade and 5th to 8th grade because what I need to see are my kids performing better on the SAS testing, the state testing. So what we do with that is we still look at the intervention block and we still look at giving those kids the intervention, but they're pulling more data from what they're deficient in the year before, right? So we look at the data from the state testing the year before and we look at tailor-making those teaching experiences there. We're using here at the high school, so the game changes again at the high school because I want my kids to perform well on the SATs. So in order to do that, we give them the PSATs, and then the PSATs work with Khan Academy, and they script out for our kids what you need to learn to do, where you are deficient for the SATs. Because really, I want my kids to do well on the SATs. But yes, our test scores are low, and I don't like that, and we are really trying to wrap around strong instructional practices and intervention practices that make our kids better readers, but also perform better on some of our tests.
Is this a staff issue, a budget issue?
It's would I love to add in more reading teachers? Absolutely. Do I think the community would support that? Absolutely. Can I find those teachers? Not necessarily. I'm going into this school year still short a first grade teacher. And I've never seen that. I've done education for a couple of years. I've gone through, in the Seacoast area where I first started as an administrator, I get 200 applications.
You have to beat them away with a stick for an elementary school position,
One,
right?
I get 200 applications for a teaching job. When I moved here, it was more like 20. Now it's 0 for some positions. It's just amazing. So,
Yeah.
if you know any teachers, send them my way.
But yeah, as you can see, she's a wealth of knowledge. I highly encourage you to reach out. She's happy to talk to you individually. And if you have a kid at a school, the principal there has, more detailed stuff about what they're doing there. So, cool. Thank you. Great question.
Just the other thing is that the district is in the middle of a complete curriculum alignment with all the schools and all the curriculum. They did math. They reading and writing is in progress, I believe.
Yep, so we did do the curriculum review for math and adopted the new curriculum for that piece. Reading will take place next year. We'll be looking at the curriculum pretty in depth for next year. Social studies is kind of the focus this year, along with the social emotional curriculum.
And writing is embedded.
Yeah, I can't have one without the other, but that's Amanda's opinion.
All right. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Kiley.
I've actually got 3 things tonight.
All right.
First one is the scoreboards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I sat on the budget committee for a few years and brought to the budget committee one year was we want $10,000 for the scoreboard. So the budget committee approved it. We come to find out it was actually going to be a 3-year lease at $10,000 a year. I hope that it was brought to the budget committee this year that it was actually a $50,000 for that and not the $11,000 that was put in the budget. Because I'm getting to the point where if this was a town, you wouldn't have had to have a warrant article in order to get that approved because you're actually saying it's a 4-year contract. It's a multi-year contract. But because you've set it up as a capital lease, then you got around it. That's number one. Number 2 is the smoking policy. What you just said was, you just broke the law, but we're going to decide whether or not we're going to tell anybody you broke the law. Now, I'm sorry, but there's an RSA, and the RSA says it's against the law for you to be smoking, and yet you're saying, well, we may decide whether or not we're going to have an intervention in the legal process. The third one is a big one, because I just learned it last week, PCBs. PCBs are going to be the next big expense. Vermont, for some crazy reason, made every school check for PCBs. Well, 44 of them did not pass.
Yeah.
Including
Yeah, my whole place.
Danielle's alma
We're all
mater
full of PFAS,
that
yeah.
put $1 million into it.
Yeah.
And when they did the testing, they found it was actually worse after. Yeah. So now it's another $5 million, and they may not be able to open in September because the state has said there are 12 classrooms that have higher PCBs than the health department says is right. The interesting thing in Vermont is they're making education, it come out of the education budget, and there's some select legislators saying, wait a minute, this isn't an education issue, it's a health issue. Mm-hmm. So it should be the health department's budget that this should be coming out of. But PCBs could be the next big thing in high schools and in all the schools. And I suspect we'll have the same problem in New Hampshire if they ever decide that they're going to test for it.
We do test for it.
Yeah, we test them.
We've tested.
Yeah.
This high school runs under the threshold, the current threshold that is set now. When they drop the threshold, it will not. So we are already in the process of looking at a water filtration system. Corrado was taking care of that before he left.
That's right.
Yeah.
Michelle will make sure that that gets done. Amanda likes to be ahead of the game. So I said to him, get on the water filtration and let's get this taken care of before we're mandated to. Plus, I don't want, you know, kids drinking that if I can prevent it.
Mhm. All right. I
They're
do like
finding
the
it in the
Hampshire
classrooms now, though. It's
Yeah.
not the water itself, it's the classroom itself and the material that's being used.
This is the same, similar to PFAS, right?
Yeah.
Microplastics, all that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know New Hampshire does not allow unfunded mandates, which
Right.
is good, at least. So like, the state can't say you must replace this and put in a filter without coughing up some money, so. I hope that's how it goes, but we'll see. All right, any other public comment? Cool. All right, we have non-public for purposes of B
Only
and I.
hiring, just hiring.
Just hiring? Okay. Entertain a motion to go to non-public.
Make a motion that we go into non-public for purposes of hiring.
All right.
Second.
Kathleen second. Danielle?
Yes.
Tim? Yes. Kathleen?
Yes.
Hope?
Yes.
Dan? Don? All right, we're in non-public. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.